There's always some crazy people here early, like me. Hey, Langford, how are you? Okay, I'm early, so I just wanted to check in, and we'll get started soon. Hey, Dutchy, good morning. Well, you're not seeing my NT charts yet. You're just seeing the green screen, which is the intro. Why are you asking? Are you having a problem with your NT charts? Oh, okay, let's take a look. Let me look. I'll turn off the green screen. I thought that mine were. Yeah, mine are. NQ is updating, and gold is definitely updating because when I got here, I can see it moving. So let's say you're having that kind of problem. Did you reboot your computer? When I have that kind of a problem, that's a serious issue, I assume that you've checked and you're connected to data, that your connection is green right next to orders. So obviously make sure you're connected. Make sure you're on the right connection. I have multiple connections. Now for me, when I reboot, because my computer is pretty fast, it's really no big deal. It only takes about a minute, not even, maybe a minute. I'm always amazed when I talk to people who, if they have to reboot, it's like a 10-year problem. They got so many things going on. That's a computer you don't want to trade events on. If you can't boot pretty quickly, it means you have too much stuff going on in the background. Let me put my intro screen back on. I never would have thought of that, Brian. Does that help? That really helps? Let's see who's here. There's one person in particular I wanted to ask a question. I don't know if he's here. Chantal, if you want to start streaming, I'm ready. You did. Okay. We're going to go into the room. Okay. Let me get my sound going. All right, everybody. Welcome to Flash Manufacturing Services, PMI, the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director, 10-Minute Trades. So I usually don't repeat this, but I'm a musician at heart. That's the truth. I was originally from New York, 1971. Oh my God. I moved to Boston. I live in Pennsylvania today. And I tried to teach people to trade the futures markets, but they never listened to me. So any and all trades we discuss are for educational purposes. Please remember you can lose money trading futures, so trade carefully, please. All right, this is our last event of the week. This was kind of a quiet week. It's summer, but even with a quiet week, let's really be honest, okay? We've got members that even though they came into the program as family money traders, they are trading extra reports. And one of the things that's going on is news trading it's really, event trading is really working. Reports that we don't expect to work are working. It's news trading is in a really positive cycle. So I do understand why people are taking extra trades. There's two levels of trades that we have. And I'll explain that. I'm going to wait till everybody gets here because people come late. I'll show you the schedule for next week and I'll explain the levels of trades that we have. But very simply, we've got our family money trades. Those are trades that really you should take every one of them. I'll certainly let you know if a family money trade has a little bit more risk than another one, because there are, riskier family money trades than others. But the family money trades are the high probability trades that have been working on a consistent basis over the recent markets. And they've been returning a profit with great regularity. That's the definition of a family money trade. And then we have our test trades. And it's a new notation that I'm making on the schedule. Test trades are trades that are either brand new and I want to try them live because the testing on them was great. And when I say I want to try them live, it means they're going to be traded live in the test account. And then there's other test trades that are bubbling under that might be on the verge of being a family money trade. So that's what the test trades are. So for people that crave action and they just can't control themselves and they're unable to just trade the family money trades, which really is what I would recommend you do if you want to make money. If you need extra action, if you have to occasionally trade the natural gas report, or if you want to trade the oil report, or if you have a discretionary method of trading, there are reports that are better than others. There's no doubt about that. There's reports that are better than others. So I'll try to talk about those reports also. And if I'm trading a trade in our test report, in our test account, it's probably a trade that either, and I'll tell you, of course, it's either brand new and I'm not sure at all what it's going to do, or it's a report that has a nice opportunity of having a profit. It's probably better than a coin toss. Or, it might be a coin toss, because a coin toss trade, it doesn't take much to turn a coin toss into a good trade. 50-50 is the definition of a coin toss generally. Wins half the time, loses half the time. Sometimes you could have a trade that is a coin toss in the way that it behaves, 50%, but it could offer so much profit, it might be better than a coin toss because the trade management can offer good profits. Let's look at a couple of videos. Today's trade, I recommend, this is not a trade that I'm interested in trading. I want to be honest. It has not had any consistency. The only thing it has going for it is that it looks at manufacturing data. It's also an extremely bad time of day for an event trade because the markets are opening at 9:45. They're only 15 minutes after the open. So you've got extra volatility that affects reports. It impacts reports negatively, all that extra volatility. Here you had mixed data last quarter, last period, last month, and you could see the index struggled. I'm curious to see what it did. I really don't remember what this report did. Looks like it's going to hit the first target. Maybe not. This was last month. Now, when I see mixed data, that makes me extremely uncomfortable because mixed data hits the first target. Now, the manufacturing data was the positive number. It's definitely more important than the services, but the services were lousy, okay? The services data were lousy, much lousier than the manufacturing data was positive. Also, look at the trend in gold. Are you really trading this report, or are we trading an incredible trend in gold? It was up 141 ticks when we got into the room that day. So this is not a great test. Even though it looks like the trade is working, it's not a great test. And you have to keep that in mind. Al, there is on the website, the member website, there's a video that says set up your charts like mine. Al, if you can't find it, and it's so easy to do, it's so easy to do. Al, it's about 5 minutes. It's about 5 minutes. If you can't find the video, just send me an email at help@10minutetrades.com. But it's on the member website. It literally takes 5 minutes. So last month, this report worked, but gold was up so much, and you had mixed data. Hang on, I got to get my phone. I'm sorry. You had mixed data, and that means you're not really necessarily trading the news on that report. So I'm being honest. Hang on 1 second, folks. So that, even though that was a test that looked like it worked, I don't trust it. I don't trust that test. The month prior, a lot of pre-trade volatility. You've got gold on the upside again, 45 ticks. And, you know, I hate to say it, that worked beautifully. All right, that worked nicely. That was a normal, proper working trade. Okay, that was a normal, that's the way you want to see a trade work. So that's two in a row, okay? But the second one was the real test. The second was the real test. Let's look at April. Let's take a look at April. April again, look at the volatility at the open. You know, this is a trade, I'm telling you. It's one of the ones I have not done what I feel is a deep dive test on it. So in April, it fills. It should go down, but it filled on the upside, so it stopped you out. Okay, it filled the wrong way. Let's look and see. Let me see what the size of the bracket was. So our bracket looks like it was, it's a little bit hard to tell. Let me see if I can tell by the setup. Oh, folks, listen carefully. That was an NQ test. That was an NQ test. Okay, so that was a stop on the NQ. Look at the right chart for gold. Let's look at the right chart for gold. That was NQ. I would not trade NQ at 945. The move is not meaningful. You're dealing with market open movement, not trade news movement. Gold is definitely looking like it's going to move in the wrong direction. It has a very small response to the report. The report was positive, but not by much. The services was decent. Manufacturing data, not very positive. Not a very meaningful reaction, and then eventually it goes the wrong way. What I would call not the way I would expect it. So I'm not overjoyed with the quality of that move. Okay. And then let's take a look at, now we're getting back far enough where these reports don't have meaning. The markets are not the same as they were 4 months ago. Calvin, no DMM. This is an unofficial, it's just a report that I've been looking at. So, and even though there's been some trades that work, I'm not a true believer in this particular report. I don't really love the time of day for it. It's struggled with inconsistency over the years. You know, it's not a report that we've ever really traded regularly and made consistent money on it. You know, I've been trying to trade the NQ on it, and it failed again on the right. Gold, very slow response. "15 seconds, you know, almost an 18-second fill. It should go up. The news is negative. Gold has a slight trend to the upside. And I just shrunk the targets just to try and get out with a small profit. And the gold trade, you were able to get out with a couple of ticks. And then it keeps moving. It wouldn't have been terrible on gold. Would not have been terrible. But this qualifies as a coin toss trade. Our first test, you really can't tell if it was just trading the gold trend that morning, and I say it was. And the reason I say it was trading the gold trend is because the news was very mixed, meaning the manufacturing data was different than the services data. That's what we call mixed news, okay? That's what I call mixed news. When manufacturing data is different than services data. I'm just looking at these videos to see if I'm showing. There's one report that worked perfectly, and it was May. The May report worked perfectly. That's this report. Don't get fooled by one report working perfectly. It's not enough. It happened very fast too. It almost looks like 59 can be the safe entry time. So we used a 6-tick bracket. That's what I was looking for. 6-tick bracket. That's what it looks like. And May worked. I'd probably use 59 as the entry, but I'm not trading live money on this. We've got a lot of interesting trades next week that I can trade live money on. I don't know about you all, but we made money. Everybody that traded this week made money. Every single person, unless, you know what, there were a couple of people that traded natural gas and had some problems with natural gas. What I would do if you just can't control yourself and you just have to trade, I'll show you the setup I would use. I can control myself. That's the difference. I can control myself. Now I made, and I'm always willing to admit if I made an error. And I made last night, Intel really was a fantastic trade. But I don't know if I would have, I'll show you that trade right after this. I won't forget. I won't forget. Don't let me leave without showing it to you. Because it's a good lesson. Very good lesson. Hang on one second. I'm trying. My daughter's going to Italy, and I want to try and take them to the train. So I just have to, they're asking me if I can take them. I just want to make sure that it's right after this trade room. So I don't have to run out of here, but I don't want to be late. Okay, so let's set up this trade. I'm not that interested in trading it, even though news trading's been trading well. If you want to trade it, don't risk a lot, okay? You could risk 10 or 11 ticks if you're going to trade it. So click on strategies. Normally, if I would trade this report, I would use, looks to me like a 6-tick bracket is pretty safe on this report with gold. One target for 4 ticks, one target for 12 ticks, okay? My stop would be 11 ticks. Stop 11. I like to use an off-brand stop. In other words, everybody uses 10. I like to use 11 or 9. I don't want to, I prefer not to be where everybody else is. Our entry time is 9:44:59 because there were a couple of reports that looked like it really triggered right at 45, right on time. Now you could get a decent move if the manufacturing data is way above 62. I think there is a possibility that the data can be above 62 because the economy's opening. Um, people are back to work. Yes, there's a million problems. There's always going to be a million problems. The world is never going to be the same ever again. But seems like people are adjusting. Now that's a really weird call. Really weird call. Hang on. So setup is a bracket of 6, a target of 4, a target of 12, a stop of 11, an entry time of 9:44:59. 9:44:59. It's a breakout trade, and then I'm labeling it because I'm going to set up an NQ trade, even though I don't really have any faith or trust in the NQ at this time of day for this type of report. It's too early. In other words, 8:30 reports you can use for the NQ. That's the only time. That's the only time that I would trade the NQ other than bond type time frames, 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon. Those time frames are okay. The NQ at 10 o'clock, you're not getting a news result. You're getting a move in the NQ that takes place in the market. So I don't recommend under any circumstances trading the NQ at 10 o'clock for news and events. It doesn't work. It may give you a good trade, but you're not trading the trade. I'm telling you honestly, you're not trading the trade. Okay? Very strange phone call I just got. Makes no sense. And they left a voicemail. So that's a good thing. So we're going to check our time sync, and then I'll set up a quick NQ trade just for fun. You know what? I'm not going to set up the NQ trade because I don't believe that this is the right time to trade the NQ on these reports. It didn't work twice in the last 5. It just isn't sensible. Let's look at the ES. I think the ES moves in a more managed way. I also, honestly, folks, I don't think the ES is the right instrument for this time of day. I also do not think that this is an event that the market watches enough that you're going to get. And Mark, you might disagree or agree with me. I don't think this is an event that gives you a giant runner, not a giant runner. I don't think it's an important enough event that the market is really looking at it that strongly. What do you think? Building permits, housing starts, I think is more important. You don't like Fridays anyway, I know, because you do the bulk of your trading Monday to Thursday anyway. I kind of can't control myself, folks. I mean, that's why I do this stuff. I'm always curious if my theories are right. I always want to know if what I'm telling you is 100% right. So I'm setting up an NQ test, okay? I want to make sure that the information I'm giving you is right. So I would set up a bracket of 12, which is big. I would go for 2 targets of 7 ticks. I always look for 7 ticks on an NQ trade. And the reason for that is because I ran a 15 tick stop. A target of 7, a target of 15, but 2 contracts for my 7 ticks. The reason I do that on the NQ, and I'm going to enter the same time. Actually, I'm going to enter at 9:45 on the NQ. 9:45. It's a breakout. I'm going to label it. It's a pretty big bracket for the NQ, but the NQ is very volatile this time of the morning. Make sure you enable your trade. You see why I labeled the trades? So when I go up to the control panel, what if I want to cancel the gold trade in a flash? Boom. I know which one is gold. I uncheck it. The trade's canceled. It says GC. If I want to cancel the NQ trade in a flash, I know exactly which one it is. I don't have to guess. That's why I label my trades. Okay? That's why I label my trades. And Mark has the key info: trade less, more success. Trade less, more success. Yuka is here from Finland, and I remembered how to pronounce his name. That's a big plus. Yuka is here from Finland. Everybody say hello. Having someone from Finland is awesome. Now, Yuka, you can test. You should test in Sim so we can compare fills. So we could see how your fills are all the way over there in Finland. It's important to know if you're too far away, or if you maybe have to consider a VPS, renting time on a server in Chicago. Sometimes when you're overseas, that's the best way to trade. You have to leave in 10 minutes. Well, the trade's in 4 minutes. The trade's in 4 minutes. Not even. I'm thinking it's evening, almost evening in Finland. 4 p.m. maybe? I'm guessing somewhere around 4 p.m. in Finland right now, that it's almost dinner time. Oh, if you're using interactive brokers, Yuka, that is something to be extremely, extremely careful about, because in the US, they are not able to be used for futures. Cannot use them. They're not able to give good fills. Now, if they're so you've got to be really careful on your live trades, the fast trades. Trade micros, maybe on the first couple of trades that you go live using our exact setups, because that will be very low risk. For instance, on a gold trade like today, you could trade MGC and see what your fills are. And if it's bad and you lose money, you'd only lose about $9 or $10 instead of 90 or 100. Our trades are very different, Yuka. That's why the way that we trade, where you have to get the order on the chart fast and it has to be a fast fill, completely different concept than a discretionary futures trade. Discretionary futures trade are not as time sensitive. If you're a second off and you get in the trade a second later, it might not matter. Now, there are, of course, discretionary trades where time is very important, but there's no trades where time is as important as us. I don't think. I've never seen any. So I just want to give you a heads up. We do have a very knowledgeable person. Exactly what Mark does. He uses the software to do a lot of discretionary trading after an event. Mark, are you still willing to show people the way you trade after a news event? Wait, let's watch. So mixed news, 6-tick bracket might be a problem on this trade. NQ was an immediate problem. So it seems like it's responding to the manufacturing data. Now, if I was live, I would protect my profit. So, this is an interesting trade. It seems that it has the potential to work. That looked like a news response. That looked like a news response. But look what the NQ did. NQ is like an immediate stop. An immediate stop. Just a disaster. Let's look at the video real quick. Look at the video real quick. Now, one of the issues, what's interesting is I would call this a real news trade because the price, even though the data was mixed, and this is one of the problems with this trade, it doesn't seem to really look at the data. It moves like a news trade, but when the data is mixed, there's no motivation for gold to move strongly in one direction. It doesn't make sense. So, I mean, today, Mark, you kind of don't have a trend in gold. Would you agree? Your gold trend is kind of flat. Your gold trend is kind of flat. It's certainly not up. So this would have been a no trade for you. But the NQ, the problem with this as a trade is the news is mixed. And you cannot trust a mixed news event. That's a problem. You want to trade, especially if you're going to trade after the news, you want to trade when the event has agreeable news. That gives you a trend potential. Let's say you have a trend that already started. What Mark is saying, he trades a trend that already exists. And then if the news responds in the direction of the trend of the index you're trading, he will then enter with our software. We have a special setup in our software that will allow you to trade trends in a very powerful way. And we'll go over that when we have our webinar. Let's look at the video real quick here. So you had a bracket of 6. And initially my gut feeling was the bracket of 6 might be safer with an 8 so that you get filled. You make it a stronger possibility of getting filled on the right side. See, when this initially filled, it failed to hit the first target. And in real life, it would have failed for sure because there's slippage. That was a fast fill. There would have been slippage on that fill. But then it goes up. It never really went very far back down. And then it goes through the target by enough that if you had an 8-tick bracket, let's watch this next push, if it pushes at all. Or does it pull back? Let's see if it pushes up a little bit or it pulls back. Pushed up a little bit right there. It may be that the 6-tick bracket is okay. It looks like the 6-tick bracket's okay. We've been using it. So maybe test trade next time on this trade. Maybe it's warranting a test trade. Look at the NQ on this. Look how it stopped immediately. The NQ is on the right. And I had a pretty big bracket also. It wasn't like I used a tiny bracket. The NQ, we used a bracket of 12. And I didn't have a tiny stop either. My stop was 15. So watch the NQ. And this is the problem with the NQ at this time of day. So the news comes out, the NQ immediately fills short and changes direction instantaneously. So even the bracket, you would have needed at least a four tick larger bracket. 16 tick bracket. I mean, the NQ moves a lot this time of day. I maintain the NQ is very, very challenging to trade this time of day. That's what I maintain. Let me show you a couple of things. Anybody traded live? Now, what Mark is saying, if you're going to trade this news, look for an index like the NQ that has a huge trend today. And then if you get an upward trend in the news, right, you can take a long without a lot of risk. So we're going to go over how to use the features in our software. We've got to have a webinar. I was thinking of having a webinar on Monday. I'm just concerned that it's short notice and people may not come. I want a webinar where people will show up and ask questions. So I have a webinar swap next week. Maybe we'll do a webinar before my webinar swap on a Saturday. I think if we do a webinar on a Saturday, people will come. People will come. All right, so, we're going to make a decision about this trade. Maybe it's a test trade next month. Over the years, you're always looking, what's the long-term history of this report? And the long-term history of this report is over the years, it has been inconsistent, not a profit maker. We don't have a DMM for it. It's not a report that needs to be traded. And that's the honest truth. It's not a report that we have to spend any time on. It's an extra one. But if it is working, then it is a report we can sneak into our collection of trades. We could certainly trade it as a test trade. And do it as a test trade next month and see how it goes. Okay, let me show you a couple of things before I get out of here. Okay, I'll see you next week. Help at the number 10minutetrades.com. Help at 10minutetrades.com. Help at 10minutetrades.com. So quick look at next week's schedule, and I'll explain something new about the schedule. So I don't know if Fred is here. Fred, are you here? The reason I'm asking for Fred is Fred likes to trade the earnings reports with me. And we got literally totally screwed by the market next week because of what's going on Tuesday. All right, Monday, no trade rooms, new home sales, not worth trading. Okay, it's a watch. Been a very inconsistent report, not a trade. Core durable goods, though, has not been trading by itself. I'll probably take a test trade on that. I think the market is looking at that kind of data. I think if you want a trade that has the potential to move gold a little bit, I think core durable goods is a possible trade. CB consumer confidence, we have a trap trade setup that's been working. So I'll be working on that Monday to decide if I'm going to actually take that live in the test account. 5-year note auction. I've just been watching that to see if it's moving. It doesn't look great, but I'm not ruling it out yet. Mark, I think about WASD. WASD was last Monday, Mark. I'm perfectly happy to trade a WASD. Hey, Chantal, we could say goodbye. I want to thank everybody on YouTube for watching, and we'll see you next week. We'll let you know when we're streaming. Thank you very much.